Liar. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. I got the horse race announcer voice back today. I have a golden voice back today. Enjoying a cup. I finally remembered to get this one try prior to the show. We'll see. It sounds like it's working. Scott has sent me another collection of teas, and this one I thought I'd give a try to today. Golden voice tea. I don't know. I'm sure a proprietary blend with all sorts of things that are, I think, mostly in some of the other throat-soothing teas, although I see asparagus root in here. Not what I was looking for in a tea flavor, but you can't tell. But you never know. That may be the magic ingredient that gives me the golden voice. And then I will say, where have you been all my life? And the answer is, well, at least a month on the shelf waiting for you to give me a try. Well, anyway, thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And if you think the voice is golden, you can credit it to the tea. I'll give you the name of the Chinese company that soon this tea will be $5,000 a box because of tariffs, I guess. And you can write in. Or you could go on, what's the new, I forget the name of the Chinese TikTok replacement app that everybody signed up for. It was Red something, which was like, hello. Communist Chinese, Red Star. I don't remember exactly what they call it. It's Red something. And it was quite something for a couple of days in terms of watching people view videos there and then marvel at the apparent, I guess, their discovery of the quality of life, at least in certain parts of China. I guess the parts of China where you can afford a very expensive top-of-the-line smartphone and can spend your day making videos as opposed to, say, assembling those phones to sell to people. I guess the quality of life for those folks, still unknown. But at any rate, it was a very interesting phenomenon. Not what we're here to discuss today, although maybe we can catch up on that one of these days. Today, instead, once again, fire hose of information and a flurry of activity. My hottest topic at the moment, my wildest prediction, discussing the pardons that were issued yesterday. Now some reporting being developed by Axios and others that says that that apparent contradiction where a few days ago J.D. Vance, as though he had influence in this administration, but J.D. Vance and some others who may or may not have any influence were saying, no, I don't think so. I don't think that the pardons will extend to the violent offenders of that day, or certainly those who were violent that day should not be pardoned for their offenses. And that apparently up until the last moment that was in fact the thinking. And according to this Axios piece, it was sort of a last-minute, last-day decision for Trump to just say, as they quote him, F it, though he loves to say the word, and we should adopt that standard too. F it, release them all, and just to make it a bigger, splashier thing, release them all. So, I think we'll find in coming days that, yes, not only were all these people released, but that the pardon was a general one, and that people who had either non-connected offenses will also find themselves at least able to apply. Certainly, you can certainly ask, and they might even get the okay from the authorities, that this applies to all your previous offenses. And of course, it may apply to different but related offenses like Edward Kelly's offense, having plotted to murder the FBI agents who were oppressing his first January 6th case while he was out on release pending trial. So is that guy pardoned for the murder plot too? We don't know. So my hot theory is Trump has released his assassin. Not knowingly, and, not, I'm sure if he could read the future, he would say, not that guy. But it's pretty clear from the reporting there was, one, a last-minute decision to let them all go. Two, that it was ill-advised even within his circles. Three, he's done zero vetting. of these people. Now, I know he was comfortable releasing them. I know AOC made a great floor speech during the unfortunate passage of the Laken Riley Act. I shouldn't even use that stupid name for it, but, I guess now they're going to be angry that I said stupid name, but it's a stupid name for a bill and a fine name for a person. But, the Republicans were using that as a propaganda piece to name the bill after someone who had been murdered, and they say allegedly by someone who was illegally in the country. So they, are making a big production of it. But at any rate, during the debate on passage of the bill, AOC was saying, you guys are saying that you want to take dangerous criminals off the street. And, how can we believe that when just moments ago, or I guess a day ago, Donald Trump released 1,500 dangerous criminals right back onto the street? There's no reason to take you seriously about this. And that is an excellent point. And again, I know he was comfortable releasing them for the same reason he was comfortable telling the Secret Service on January 6th in advance of his speech on the ellipse to get rid of the metal detectors that was slowing down entry into the ellipse for his speech. You can get rid of I want those magnetometers. I want those mags out of there. I don't give an F, I think, if they're armed. They're not here to hurt me. Right. So that was his thinking about the whole thing. And I think that's his thinking about this release. But as usual, with most of the things he does, it's not thought through, and it's a sort of a childish black and white mode of thinking. They're in there because of January 6th, and because January 6th was for me, that means they're huge fans of mine, and they'll do anything I want. And that may be true of the vast majority of them. But 1,500 dangerous, deranged, devoted lunatics who've also spent some amount of time getting their brains poisoned in jail, and usually not the best characters, to do your rehabilitation with, the folks that are in jail with you, but that's the way it goes. And it only takes one. Now, supposedly he's already been shot by a lunatic Trump fan, Trump supporter gone wild. All it takes is one of them, and they don't even have to be angry with him. Several of them could be. You left us there to rot for 4 years when you could have pardoned us on January 19th, 2021. There could be that. But we don't even need that. All we need is one of these guys who Trump would think is a superfan. He's God. Donald Trump is God. And we need to be in heaven together. Oh, my God. All it takes is one, and he released 1,500 of them and has no idea what their names are. Zero vetting. I don't know, man. Not a lot of people who get sprung without doing their time have great records after that. I'm just saying, and what can I tell you? It would be a real capper, I'll tell you that, to a glorious career. Anyway. My golden voice, you've had enough of it. Greg Dworkin is here. He's got his golden voice beverage with him as well. Good morning, Greg. Give us a taste of the gold.
Taste of the gold is this delicious Yukon blend.
Aha, Yukon
coffee, but fair traded. I think what Scott should send me is cooperative interruption tea. So
I think that's
could just
cocaine,
do it better.
Actually.
Listen, I have two clips for you today.
Yeah.
One's not safe for work, but I want to play it anyway, and the other one is.
All right, I'll start the operation here.
All right, the not safe for work one is right over in my list, in my raft of stories I sent you this morning. You'll see one with Elon Musk in German. Story behind that. Right above it is Anthony Kreese from Blue Sky. Saying, I'm with Officer Fanone. And it's Officer Fanone on CNN that I want to play.
Oh, okay. I think, where is that one? I think it's playing, there's no golden voice for me here at the moment, but I think I'm going to have to try this again. We're having that.
Do you see it?
Some of the things are there and some of them are not. Not the one before Elon. I don't see. I can just reload Skype, and that usually brings it back up.
Otherwise, I'll just send it to you as the last one.
Or can you do your best imitation of the guy cursing? How about that? All right. Well, let's see. You're going to send it again? Okay.
Very, very, very bottom.
Now I got to head in the other direction. Okay. Oh, all right. There we are. All right, and I will pocket
The caption
it.
is, I'm with Officer Fanon.
Okay, like for dinner or something? Is he meeting him at a restaurant? All right, we'll find out. Now I got to go to the pocket on the other computer, and I should make a note.
Unfortunately, you don't get
is.
video with this, so you don't get to see the very surprised face of the CNN commentator, the anchor, but go ahead.
All right. Working
You
on
do
it.
get to hear her.
Clicky, clicky. Let's go. All right. This is a heavily interactive web application, it's telling me. Okay, here we go. From the Tennessee Holler. Will they holler? Will their sound be up high enough? Let's find out. Okay.
It's CNN's Pamela Brown.
No, I don't. Because we did the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa.
Oh, I don't see his eye patch. It's under his sunglasses. Okay.
We're there to protect and secure 2 permitted events on Capitol grounds where members of Congress were going to speak. The guys that went inside, they're not committing the crimes. In fact, they help people. They help the police and help the people out.
He says he has no regrets. What do you say, Michael?
Is Michael Fanon.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I would say to Stuart Rhodes. Go fuck yourself.
Oh.
Okay.
You're a liar.
We didn't obviously get to beep that word out, but obviously...
Which word? Liar?
This is personal to you, Michael. This is very personal to you.
Well, all right. He should run for office.
Right? So, yeah, talk about letting those folks out. There happens to be quite a bit of backlash about that, which is going to fit into my larger theme. Our friend Scott Anderson picked up on it this morning and sent me a piece I had seen as well about the concept here. Basically, if you want to step back a little bit and say, okay, so what do the Democrats do now?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it's not so complicated.
Oh.
First of all, new presidents have 100 days to be popular and do stuff, and then the popularity starts to drop. Unless you have a 9/11 type of event.
Okay. Well, let's not have that.
You did, and let's not. But unless you have something like that, your popularity tends to fade. And Trump doesn't start in a particularly strong position to begin with.
Well.
So the Democrats' job is to let that happen, but also make that happen. And because it's a natural thing that happens, this time, take credit for it.
Oh,
you have to make sure people understand that Trump is promulgating unpopular policies. You have to tie it to Republicans. You have to tie it to Trump, and you have to make Trump unpopular. It's as simple as that.
Well, go
on
TikTok.
They didn't do that last time. They were in power, and they wanted to go let's just unite the country, Gerald Ford style. Never works.
Yeah, well, if we do a very, very good job, they'll reward us and give us a promotion.
Never works. Nixon should have been prosecuted. He shouldn't have been pardoned. That was stupid, and you're making the same mistake now, not 2024, but 2020. No, these folks needed to be prosecuted, and right away. They are being prosecuted, and it turns out to not prosecute them is very unpopular. Make clear that that's what's going on, and the American public understands this, because they don't hear what's going on. They don't understand what's going on. And I'm going to give you some examples, and that's where the next clip comes in.
Okay. And which one is this?
And that's just above the one I sent you from X.
Okay.
Where it says farmers.
Yeah, all right. I've positioned them all here, so I will open up this one here. Farmers. We are farmers. Is that one?
That's the one.
This is really stupid, man. All right, let's see. Come on. It's taking its time. It's thinking about loading. Farmer who voted for Trump says a thing. Oh, okay. That's not the farmer. That's the interviewer. I'm like, oh, she look like she's dressed for farming, but okay. All right. Farmer who voted for Trump. What?
South Dakota.
Can't believe it. All right.
Kristi Noem supporter. Go ahead.
Okay.
Play it.
What percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Oh.
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
How many hours does this go on?
It's 24 hours a day. You know, we could milk
Milking
8 hours
cows,
a day, but it wouldn't be feasible or profitable for us to produce milk.
So you need workers like this year-round?
Yes. Yes.
Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, her farm is just a few miles away. This farmer who voted for her, who voted for Trump, who still supports them, doesn't believe that they would round up immigrants and ask them for their immigration status, because it's an open secret that farms in this state are held up by undocumented workers.
Well, that's why they're raiding them in California instead. All right, so
and Florida, and so we're going to talk about those things. So again, what one has to understand is that these Trump supporters are not evil. They may or may not be stupid, but they're absolutely uninformed.
Yes. Well, now whose fault is that? All right.
Well, it's Fox's fault, actually.
Among others. Okay.
But it's the whole newspaper ecosystem. New York Times, supporting Trump by talking about how strong he is. Washington Post doing it even more so and just collapsing as a newspaper.
Manly.
As people who right there who are well known and popular and skilled and Pulitzer Prize winning leaving.
Yeah.
And so you're left with where they get their news. And so they believe these things because they don't know what else to believe. But this stuff winds up breaking through in a big way. Now,
the cow looks surprised.
Let's just talk a little bit about the strategy here. So I'm going to start with the bulwark. JV Last has a piece called "How to Stop Trump in One Stupid Chart."
All right.
Bump, 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 bump. Make the line go from low to high. What line is that? His unpopularity line. I give you the stupidest possible headline today, but only because I couldn't think of a less dumb way to say the most obvious thing in the world. Stopping Trump isn't like solving Fermat's last theorem. It's actually quite simple.
Right
now, Trump is reasonably popular, and you have to make him deeply unpopular. At minus 1.6 unfavorable, Trump's a juggernaut. At minus 18, he's weak. And pushing him to minus 18 is Democrats' job, their entire job. I'm not sure that anything else they do over the next year even matters besides that job.
Yes.
That's what you need to do.
All right.
Okay. In a month or so, House Republicans will start considering Trump's big, beautiful budget, debt ceiling, immigration, omnibus, everything bill. The higher his approval, the harder it will be for 3 Republicans to vote against it. And at the risk of stating even more obvious things, the more painful the legislative process is for Trump on his Everything app, the worse it will be for his popularity. So making it easier for Republicans to defect on the budget bill now will make him less popular later. And that's just the legislative side.
Yes.
Trump is going to be in and out of court constantly in the coming months as his executive orders are litigated. Some of these EOs are going to wind up at the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
As John Roberts ponders the fate of birthright citizenship, he will absolutely be paying attention to how popular Trump is, and that's just reality. Another reality, do people care about the price of eggs? Well, if the president is popular and egg prices are high, everybody assumes the public doesn't care. But people assume that. They don't talk about it. If the price of eggs is high and the president is unpopular, then people won't shut up about how terrible it is that eggs prices are off the chart. You remember that dynamic?
Yeah.
When a president is popular, nothing sticks. And when a president is unpopular, every stupid random thing is a catastrophe, and it's their fault.
Yeah. Now that's really the key. I have seen that in other pieces, people reminding you, don't miss out on the opportunity to just say everything is his fault.
Right.
That's the way it works, apparently.
Tie it to things you don't like. Just like that farmer. That farmer, thinks that Trump isn't going to round up people. They're already starting to round up people in California. Food prices are going to go off the roof. Egg prices are going up because of bird flu. You could either just ignore the bird flu part and just say egg prices are going up, it's Trump's fault, or you could say it's bird flu because he, screwed up the CDC and WHO. Yes. Whatever you want to do, whatever tactic you want to take.
It's easy now.
It's his fault.
Well, it is. This is all on his watch. That's always been his theory of how the presidency works, so you got to go with it. He's inviting you to do this.
This is Susan Glasser.
Just like he invited me to Washington, D.C. to change the election.
Update, it's 122, that is to say January 22nd.
Oh.
Eggs still cost too much. The war in Ukraine is still on. Trump pardoned the Proud Boys, threatened war on Panama, is making bank off the presidency with a crypto scam, and is mad at a bishop. Make sure that everybody understands all of those things.
Yeah.
You don't have to know the details. The details don't matter here.
Yes. Mad at a bishop.
I'll give you some details about eggs.
Drama queen takes bishop. Eggs, yes.
Egg prices are high because of bird flu. Bird flu kills the flocks. If the flocks are dead, you have to replace the flocks. If you have to replace the flocks, here's a simple biology lesson for you. Chicks don't lay eggs. so it takes 6 to 9 months to replace those flocks. That means egg prices are going to stay up for 6 to 9 months. You have time to plan how to tie this to Trump. Do it. It's your job, Democrats.
Yeah. I mean, if you want my advice, count down to Easter. The big egg holiday is coming. It's 87 days away.
Too expensive, too.
Yeah, that too. Right. But for purists, I guess, who want to dye Easter eggs, well, I'm sorry, all the people who lay Easter eggs died. So you're done. Eggs cost $27 a dozen, and no one wants to do it. Plastic eggs for everybody, I guess.
Right. Oh, speaking of unpopular, TV viewing figures fall for Trump's inauguration. 6 million fewer U.S. viewers turned in than for watching Biden.
Viewers.
Those are numbers that you have to tell Trump every day because he loves hearing about how less popular he is than Biden. It's really important.
All right. And please, by all means, I invite everybody to say 10 times fast. Fewer viewers.
Fewer viewers.
Holy mackerel.
Less viewers.
I like fewer.
You meant fewer. Less fewer. You meant fewer. Okay. Well, fewer viewer, Mr. Trump. Trump's trade, and this is Harvard Business Review, Trump's trade and deportation plans could be disastrous for the U.S. food supply.
Plans could be disastrous. Okay, food supply, right.
Published
Heard
yesterday.
about that. The granola taking a big hit yesterday.
Yeah, and we still don't know why pistachios aren't in granola. On President Donald Trump's first day in office, he signed a sweeping executive order on immigration, threatened, which that South Dakota farmer said wasn't going to happen.
No.
So don't vote for that South Dakota farmer. Threatened to impose a broad range on tariffs, including a 25% tariff on goods imported in the U.S. That hasn't even happened yet, and food prices are starting to go up.
Right.
And where do
eggs?
Your fresh produce on your table come from these days?
DoorDash.
Argentina. Mexico.
Que bueno. Yeah, right. Importing them, and now
you put a 25% tariff on top of everything else. You have nobody to pick the fruits in California, and then you put a 25% tariff on the places they actually come from. What do you think is going to happen to food prices?
I don't know.
Whose fault is that? Donald Trump. Democrats, get on it now.
Yes. RFK Jr. can say, well, Americans ought to probably be eating about 25% less anyway.
RFK, you're the guy who let bird flu run rampant through the flocks, and now we don't have any eggs.
Bird flu is good for you. We're having flock immunity.
That's Trump's fault.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, although I'm getting this inkling that he might abandon RFK Jr. at some point and just be like, like if his nomination bogs down.
Jr. We're going to get rid of RFK.
Well, we'll use Don Jr. instead. Let make him the head of HHS. I don't care about health or human services. Put an idiot in.
They all look alike to me.
Yep. Okay. Well, yeah. So food prices.
Here's a comment again from Harvard Business Review.
Oh, well.
The domestic agricultural workforce. Immigrants play a vital role in the U.S. agricultural workforce.
Thanks,
They make
Harvard.
up approximately 61% of farm workers, according to the most recently available data. But as a 2022 U.S. Labor Survey, Department of Labor survey, 42% were not legally authorized to work in the country, meaning they were undocumented. This would presumably be part of the group that President Trump and his team have targeted to deport.
Yes.
Now, most people probably assume undocumented group is unskilled labor, but our interviews with 4 growers with operations in Florida and California and people at industry associations suggest the opposite. Would lose a lot of our skilled workers, said one California strawberry grower.
Yes.
Our more skilled people have been here for 20 to 30 years. They speak English. One profile that he shared was that of a highly skilled supervisor who makes important daily decisions on planting and harvesting. Another was a skilled mechanic. A third was a crew boss with decades of experience. These are people who came over in the mid-'80s. They've been paying taxes, Social Security. They never went through the citizenship process, the grower said. And labor is 40% of his costs. And Trump's statements have filled these workers and their employees with anxiety over their uncertain futures, to the point, I would add, where they're not showing up for work in California and Florida now. Today.
Right. That's true. Right. You don't even have to, and I'm sure Trump thought this was a huge bonus. Well, we don't even have to do the raid to get them off the farms and into hiding, except that it also means that prices will spike immediately.
Right.
And
now, I have another one for you, just to beat a dead tomato here. This is from Bloomberg. A Trump voting farmer's warning, mass deportations would be a disaster. Florida crackdown previews what could be in store for growers. So this is Florida. We're talking South Dakota, Florida, California. South Dakota for milk, Florida for tomatoes, California for citrus, and everything else. Florida
Raisins.
tomato grower Tony DeMare is all for President-elect Trump slapping tariffs on the Mexican farmers who undercut him by paying workers a fraction what he does. And he wants to stop illegal border crossings, but it would be a disaster for American farmers to expel all 11 million undocumented people living in the country. We have to secure our borders. There's no doubt this is going to restrict and put pressure on farming, though, because we have 4,000 acres of tomato farms. And that's because the U.S. farms run on an army of more than 850,000 crop workers, almost half of whom are undocumented.
Yeah.
160,000 of them move with the seasons. Florida's winter. They harvest vegetables in Florida before winter. Then they move to snap beans in North Carolina or blueberries in New Jersey.
Oh.
Maybe as far as Maine. I don't know.
Yeah, wherever the blueberries are, I guess.
A nationwide crackdown could drive labor costs higher for farmers already struggling to compete against cheap imports and reignite the kind of inflation that tanked Joe Biden's presidency. Fresh fruit and vegetable production has been moving to Mexico and Canada in recent years, in part due to lower labor costs. Where does he want to do his 25% tariffs? Remind me?
Yeah, everywhere. Well, but Canada and Mexico, certainly.
That's the place. Florida,
Yeah.
America's largest producer of fresh market
Tariff them
tomatoes,
too.
offers a glimpse into how that works because DeSantis started this in 2023. Since 2023, more farmers have been forced to pay far higher wages for guest workers to replace undocumented laborers. Guest workers are a different category. They get $16.23 an hour instead of $10 an hour for picking tomatoes. That's $10 in cash. And so DeSantis replaced cheaper with higher, and guess what happened to prices? And so ever since they made that law, nobody will hire you without papers, and so now we have concerns.
Okay. And they're screwing with the price of ketchup, which, you know, that's you. I'm sorry. It's your own fault. All right. And by the way, if
after
you think...
the break, well, you get the theme. This is all Trump's fault.
All right. I can go with that. Hi, everybody. It's me, David Waldman. Yes, the same guy who interrupts you all the time. Interrupting you one more time just to tell you again, another reminder that your contributions are what keep this show on the air, and patreon.com, patreon.com, is still among the easiest ways to make the sustaining subscription donations that keep us afloat. Are you ready for the pep talk about how our Patreon campaign is still going strong and growing? Well, too bad. Yeah, the plain fact is we actually are headed in the wrong direction, and whereas we once had about 175 monthly patrons, we're now actually down below 150. Time to recruit some more. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. For those of you in a position to support the show, patreon.com does make it easy to make those secure, recurring monthly contributions to do so. Patreon.com/KagroX gets you straight to our donation page. We've been through a lot together. The worst of the pandemic, we hope. The worst of the insurrection, we hope. So go ahead and treat yourself. You don't need an excuse. Give yourself the gift of a little something you enjoy in life. Support the show. And of course, if you happen to prefer using PayPal or even the Square Cash app, we're up and running on those options too. So thanks again, everyone, for all your support. We couldn't, or at least shouldn't, do it without you. Hope you'll be on board soon too. Thanks for all your support. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. How's your voice, Golden? All right, everybody, hang on for segment 2, everything else that is Trump's fault. Although I will say, during the break, I reminded everybody that, or I reminded Greg, if you've ever seen, I saw this terrific video of crop workers harvesting in the fields. And I know, like, the economists like to refer to them as unskilled workers because they don't have PhDs in crop picking to give to the, but if you ever have seen a live view of how quickly, skillfully, and precisely in some cases, some very dangerous harvesting techniques are done by experienced field workers, you would maim yourself immediately if you, and not to mention, break your back bending over all day. These are skills you don't have and you won't develop anytime soon. PhD or no. So yeah, I know we're stuck with that term, unskilled workers. But yeah, try it for 10 minutes and you'll see. Okay, just wanted to let everybody know that one. But now we can move on to other topics, if you like.
Yeah, so I sent you this little YouTube video. It's a song from Tom Lehrer.
Oh, okay.
From the 60s.
Right. From the
and,
60s.
There's a guy named George Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay. Before Ronald Reagan became governor.
He was
Before
governor?
Ronald Reagan became president.
Yeah.
George Murphy was the Hollywood guy who had done the best in politics.
I don't think I know George Murphy.
Right.
Okay.
So this is way, way, way back in the day, in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And the debate at that time is it okay to bring in Mexican labor to pick crops in California? Does this sound familiar?
Yes.
This issue has been going on, as we say in New York, forever.
Yeah.
And this song is about that.
Okay. It was lucky it skipped the commercial for us, so I'll roll it out, although you should see what's on my screen in terms of videos it's suggesting next. You wouldn't believe it. All right, let's see. Ooh, nice. That's a lot of...
He's in concert.
I see. Oops.
But he's also a genius, Tom.
Last election, we had a good deal of fun back east following your senatorial contest out here. I'm from Massachusetts, and I feel we have a certain right to gloat over the other states because Massachusetts is, after all, the only state with 3 senators.
Senator Kennedy was.
Yeah. I see.
Anyway, here's a salute.
That was an RFK, wasn't it? Back when RFK was a good thing. Okay. Anyway, or were we talking about... Yeah,
it was JFK.
Right? Yeah, okay.
See, he was president, but Massachusetts also had 2 other senators.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm looking at 1965. So I thought it might be Bobby Kennedy for New York.
Yeah, he might be.
That was what. Okay. I think because 65, unfortunately.
65, it would have been Bobby Kennedy.
Okay.
To your new junior senator.
A salute to your new junior senator for California.
Hollywood's often tried to mix show business with politics. From Helen Gahagan to Ronald Reagan.
By the way, all of this stuff
but
is
Mr. Murphy,
due to the Tom Lehrer estate.
Yes.
He is the star.
Mr. Murphy
who's
is the star.
done the best by far. Oh, gee, it's great. At last we've got a senator who can really sing and dance. We can't expect America to win against its foes with no one in the Senate who can really tap his toes.
All right. This is a style that's pretty much gone now for political parody. That's definitely true.
You see, what's his name? Mark... whose name I forget.
Yes.
Tom Lehrer was the original, and the one that did it best.
Right. What was his name? I know who you're talking about, too. And he's... Mark
Russell.
Yes, that's right. Oh, and...
Pale imitation of the original Tom Lehrer.
Yeah. True, I guess. But I remember he used to have specials all the time on PBS.
Right, exactly.
It was a very popular style. For its day.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm interrupting so that YouTube doesn't get too mad about our use of his... I'm sure still copyrighted song. Okay.
It's not copyrighted.
Oh, no?
His
Okay.
estate made it available to everybody.
Oh, that's what you're saying about his estate. Okay. I thought you were... I caught the second half of, you're going to have to pay his estate. I figured that's what you meant. All right, then.
Anybody can use this.
You know what? I'll bet that YouTube doesn't know or care and will threaten me anyway, which will be fun. But okay. Let's roll and test the theory.
The movies that you've seen on your television screen show his legislative talents at a glance.
And this is why it was playing.
Should Americans pick crops? George says no, 'cause no one but a Mexican would stoop so low. And after all, even in Egypt, the pharaohs had to import Hebrew braceros.
Okay, you can stop it there. So 1965, you said?
It was pretty clear. even then.
I'm trying to make the point that this has been an issue since at least 1965, if not before.
Yes.
It's never been solved because people don't want to solve it.
Donald Trump was still at Hofstra when this was an issue. Or was it Fordham? I can't remember which where he was before his dad bought him a ticket to Penn as a transfer student.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yes.
the idea that there's a, who was it, Mencken? There's a quick and simple solution, which is obviously wrong. Trump picked it.
Yes.
Because, he picks crops, right? No, he doesn't do anything. He just has everybody else do stuff. This is just going to backfire so badly. And the important thing is to make sure, well, this is all Biden's fault. I know that's your usual go-to, but not this time, buddy.
Okay.
Right.
By the way, apologies to Hofstra University. It was Fordham.
Right.
Okay.
That TikTok thing I sent you of the South Dakota farmer.
Yes.
That farmer who voted for Trump said there would be no food within 2 days if ICE rounds up his immigrants.
Oh, I think
I
I've
don't
heard
believe
that
he'll
quote
follow
before.
through.
Yeah. Is it the same guy?
I don't know.
Oh. Well, there's only like
it's
3
the same
farmers.
Guy. This is the one from South Dakota. This is at the milk farm.
Okay. I've definitely heard that quote. Okay. Well, he's probably right. And especially with something with milk. Like, you can't just use last year's milk that's still in a can or anything.
So it's unpopular. It's Trump's fault. Let's turn to the next topic here, immigration, just briefly.
Also his fault?
Or as Joyce Vance says,
Same thing.
Injection of poison into the bloodstream of democracy. Trump is threatening to prosecute those who don't go along with his plans, legal or not, consistent with state policy or not, part of the job or not. The DOJ memo claims the supremacy clause of the Constitution requires state and local officials to comply with whatever DOJ says, but that's wrong. State officials can't be compelled to enforce federal law. Who says so? Antonin Scalia.
Well, he's dead, so forget
He wrote
that.
the majority opinion in Prince v. U.S. The issue in that case was whether state and local law enforcement could be required to enforce interim provisions of the Brady Handgun Act. And, of course, Scalia said, no, of course not. You can't.
Not that one. Yeah, right. So, no, you can't force Republican governors to obey Democratic federal law. Now, the issue will be, will Scalia's buddy, Alito, be able to force Democratic governors to enforce Republican federal law? And the answer is my pine tree air freshener flag says yes.
So Aaron Reichlin-Melnick points out, leaked documents from the Trump administration show that ICE wants 4 new detention centers with 10,000 beds each, 14 smaller facilities with 700 to 1,000 beds each. That would likely mean tens of billions of dollars in taxpayer funds sent to private prison companies.
Doge, that we're going to have AI guard them.
Right. And so there's that. There's that sermon that Bishop Budd gave at the National Cathedral, which, by the way, is not national in the sense of anything to do with the government. And it's an Episcopalian private institution.
I'm sure Trump does
got
not
a lot of
recognize
criticism
that.
because she said directly to his face, you really need to be compassionate, and they just lost it.
Yeah, she preached the gospel at his face.
Yeah, and then the Atlantic had a piece by Adam Sower. The attack on birthright citizenship is a big test for the Constitution. Does the text mean what it says?
The text of the Bible or the text of the...
Text of the Constitution.
Okay. No.
As such, Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship is an early test of the federal judiciary. They've done at least twice before, the first time by writing the 14th Amendment's ban on insurrectionists out of the Constitution, and the second time by seeking to protect Trump from prosecution by inventing an imperial presidential immunity out of whole cloth. But in the aftermath of the Civil War, white Southerners tried to restore at gunpoint the slave society that existed prior to the war, notwithstanding the 13th Amendment's abolition of slavery. Republicans in Congress passed the 14th Amendment to secure equal citizenship and the 15th Amendment to protect the right to vote regardless of race. Talked about this the other day. The birthright idea came out of the Civil War. Despite this historic accomplishment, for the past 80 years or so, the party of Lincoln has aimed its efforts at repealing or nullifying them. And he goes into some detail. We've already gone into this. We don't have to do that. But my point is this, and this is well summed up by Philip Bump, Trump's executive orders are not exactly crowd pleasers. Polling suggests skepticism about the president's plans, including about actions he's already taken.
Okay.
He's been unusually insistent, Trump has, that his victory in November reflects robust public support. He only won by 1.5 points.
Right.
Last year's contest certainly offered the president more positive feedback than the 2 prior cycles, where he received fewer votes than his opponents, but that doesn't make it a mandate. The most obvious example was his decision to immediately extend pardons and commutations to those involved in planning or participating in a riot at the Capitol on January 6th. Just ask Officer Fanone.
Oh, we did.
Recent polls show that less than half of the country approves this. Among Republicans, support is higher, but in polling conducted for CBS and NPR and PBS, 3 in 10 Republicans oppose the idea. The Wall Street Journal poll also asked an alternative version. Would you support January 6 pardons if they excluded those who physically attacked police? A slightly higher percentage said yes, but
slightly
do that.
No. Screw it all.
Consider Trump's plan to deport immigrants who entered the country illegally, and maybe some who didn't. Across a number of polls, the idea of conducting broad deportations yields more support than opposition, but if you introduce specifics, support erodes, like tell people food prices will go up. The most popular iteration is deporting those who live in the country illegally and have criminal records. Support for deporting all immigrants sinks to just over a majority. Even those proposals are vague. Does someone who entered illegally but is awaiting asylum count? With even more specific, support falls further. Fewer than half of respondents indicated that millions of deportations should occur if worker shortages happened. Relatively few support deporting immigrants with citizen children. And you know what the most popular option in the poll was? Creating a pathway to citizenship.
What do you know? Maybe the 2 parties should work together on a proposal for that.
Right. Respondents in the Times poll were about evenly split on ending government diversity programs. Respondents were divided on whether Trump should ease regulations for drilling for oil. There was little support for firing career civil servants. Very few thought Trump should launch investigations into political opponents. The stuff he's doing is unpopular. It's Democrats' job to highlight that.
All right.
And I think that the polling supports this concept. I think common sense supports this concept. Let's see if political will supports this concept, because I don't know what the hell the Democrats in the Senate are doing. I have no idea.
We won't find out for some time, because they're not going to approach a microphone for some reason.
Right.
Some strange
So,
reason.
this is just something that has to happen. They have to do this. And if they don't do this, they're going to be in the wilderness and in the minority for years. There were some writers out of Israel looking at American politics and saying, people in America have to understand, don't move to the middle. That's what we did here. What a huge mistake. You need to be the opposition. You move to the middle and say, okay, we'll compromise with Netanyahu on this, we'll compromise with that. What happens is that he just moves to the right, moves to the right, moves to the right. Huge mistake. Don't make that mistake in America. Be the opposition. Stand for something.
All right. Yeah, and I mean, what can I tell you? People are appreciating, for instance, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez didn't win the leadership post that she wanted, but nonetheless is the most turned to because of social media, sure. But look, it's there for everybody. She didn't, she's not blocking anybody from learning how to use it. She just understands it innately and is, leading. Whether you didn't elect me, I don't care. Yeah, how about an extra leader for free? Sure, we'll take it. And well, it's working pretty good for her. So you can do the same, and you don't need to be elected to the job, and it doesn't cost any additional money, and you got staff who can help you with it. Most of your staff is probably 20-somethings anyway, and if you weren't paying them, they'd be home looking for jobs, but TikToking the whole time anyway. Do it up. You can't find a microphone to step to. There's one on your phone. Do it there. All right. I don't know. They said yes. I just heard them in the background. Okay, we'll do it.
Okay, good.
We're doing it your way from now on. Sure.
All right. And to change topics just a little bit, this, I just found it interesting, was a piece from Germany.
Yeah.
Of all places.
That's all I know.
Zeit Online. Oh. And luckily for us, since I don't speak German, it translated it to English.
Farvergnügen. Yes.
But as one of my German friends pointed out, you don't need to speak German to understand the headlines in German these days.
That's probably true, too.
Like this one says, a Hitler salute is a Hitler salute is a Hitler salute.
Oh.
And they're talking about Elon Musk, of course.
Elon.
What
I like
I'm
that
saying
version. Yes.
Is that there's some debate as to whether or not Elon Musk made a Nazi salute. Do you know who doesn't have any doubt about it? Number one, Nazis.
Okay, right. They're into it.
Number two,
but
Germans.
They're motivated. Germans. Well, they understand German.
But what they do understand also.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk has stretched out his right arm and is letting everyone jump over it. The ultimate stick. So on the day of the inauguration, not only does Donald Trump's second presidency formally begin, the associated attention regime is also more visible than ever before, because that's what this is all about, attention. It's the most contested commodity in a world in which every snippet, picture, video, and quote is vying for attention every second. Trump and Musk are masters in this competition, above all, because they manage to use even negative attention. See the Hitler salute, because what's happening now is predictable. Neo-Nazis and right-wing radicals interpret the outstretched right arm as a gesture of fraternization and support, bolstered by letting them all out of prison.
Yes.
Moderate, well-meaning supporters, I added that part, moderate, well-meaning supporters as an escalated gesture of celebration, and everybody else is faced with an impossible choice. Either ignore it because it's a taboo violation and contribute to its removal as a taboo violation, or mark it as a taboo violation and then produce outrage, which the other side takes pleasure in, and you can complain about it, but you have to expect that a significant part of humanity now sees scandalizing Hitler salutes as nothing more than virtue signaling, and that's why Germans are upset about it.
Okay.
Journalism, too, and especially is faced with this choice. It plays the attention game. The media is the traditional arena for it. Basically, that's a nice summary of why journalism sucks so much. If they're not for access, they're for attention. And none of that has to do with policy, information, or facts.
Yeah. Nah, I know it's an impulse, especially among like opinion writers. Like, people need to hear that there's an alternative explanation. I don't really know that they do. And as I said yesterday, I can't imagine anybody who's dragging you off to a concentration camp releasing you because of that piece you wrote. You know, that's right. You gave the benefit of the doubt to Elon Musk about the straight arm salute. That was awfully sensitive of you. Thank you very much. We totally read that, and we'll let you go now. So there's nothing to be gained from it for personal reasons. I know that you feel like you got to fill space, and I get it. There are alternative theories, but look, this is the photo, and it's very aggressive, and he makes a tremendous effort to do it twice. Did you see? I saw big news yesterday was that a meteorologist at a local television station in I don't know where, Minnesota, maybe, possibly, fired from the station for posting about it on their Facebook page, although, you know, what they're leaning on there is that she used some colorful language in describing what was going on, and they said that might be conduct of unbecoming a meteorologist, I guess. But yeah, it's a whole thing about this, and now they're baiting people into screaming about it on Facebook page and then hunting them down and having them fired for their jobs for it. So don't fall into that trap either.
Well, you know, it's a tough situation, but you know, one needs to keep doing it. I don't ascribe to the idea that, look, let's just ignore it and make it like that's not the fight you want to go. No, that fight is absolutely worth having.
All right. I mean, yes. I'm going back to your policy of yesterday. Everybody on this show, listening to the show, gets what happened, and I don't need to tell them any more about it. Okay. That's it. You were right. You were right about it yesterday. You're right about it today. And you're free to go where you want to.
Okay. Well, I'm leaving now.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, stay and tell us what you think about it. What about his technique? Did you like and it reveals some sizable shoulder pads in his jacket as well. So I thought he was working out, but no. Okay. Great. Golly. Now what am I going to do? I've given you permission to leave. Shoot. Right. Okay. I have lots of stories. It'll be
good.
okay.
You'll need them.
Yeah. All right. Well,
you got another show to do, and then you got another show to do tomorrow, right?
Right. So it's going to be a lot. I'll have to try
today,
and
Trump
find...
allies in the U.S. House are
Thank you.
expected to unveil and champion formal legislation today to end birthright citizenship. And again, I go back to something very smart that Jonathan Last said, and that is that
He said it first.
you have to make Trump unpopular because this sort of crap will pass if they perceive that he's popular.
Yes, that's true. It will. They had their success yesterday being billed as, Trump's first legislative success, the Laken-Riley Act. And, I have to check more into it, but I saw Blue Virginia put up the vote results among Democrats in the House on the vote. And all I can say is, the usual suspects 2 hour east, Don Beyer, Jerry Connolly, by the way, right? Everyone's so mad. Jerry Connolly won the post at AOC. Should have gotten. He remembered to vote no on this thing. And I'm sorry to have to tell our now retired and wonderful former representative Jennifer Wexton that her replacement could not muster that courage yesterday and voted yes. Suhas Subramanian, our new congressman here, baffled by the vexing problem of immigration, I guess, and went with the Republicans on that one. Not a smart idea, I don't think. Just wanted to let you know. I'm watching. Lots of other people are watching. I assume you'll be a good Democrat on everything else, but God save us from the Obama White House veterans who have now run for office. Working with the Republicans, trying to find common sense, common ground.
Yeah, exactly the wrong approach at this particular point in time.
Too bad. Too bad for us.
Anyway, that's this week.
Okay.
But there's lots to do. He is doing unpopular things. There's every reason to emphasize that, at the end of the 100 days, he's going to be less popular than he is now. And,
yes.
That's what happens, and therefore make it happen.
Okay. We'll be working on it.
People shop every week, every day. And so, you can't hide egg prices behind, I didn't hear about it.
That's true. But I was going to tell you, you know what you can hide? I got this from Skip Bitter, Dr. the Frog, online. Did you see this one? He says,
No.
He chimed back to the pistachio thing. And by the way, I mentioned the red pistachios at home, and my wife was like, oh, yeah. That's right. That? Yeah. So he says, in completely trivial history, by the way, pistachios were dyed red probably because they were mostly shipped from abroad and got a mottled coloration along the way. And to hide the imperfections and the blemishes in the shells, etc., they were dyed red. But once they began to be grown more frequently in the U.S., though the custom remained briefly because it was expected by consumers, they eventually, not only health issues with the dye, but also, hey, we don't have the problem. We don't have to have the added expense of dyeing them, and we can build them as naturally colored. And so domestic pistachios undid that. Yeah, right. So
organically produced.
That seems like a plausible explanation to me, rather than arbitrarily adding cancer juice to the nuts. We didn't really need to do that. 40? Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know what the number was, but it was in the era of, we also shortly thereafter lost the red M&M temporarily because that color that they were using, number, whatever it was
make
also
America
not so
great again.
For you.
Bring back all those red colors.
Yeah, right. Let's have DDT in the candy. Yeah. All right.
Anyway, see ya.
Very good. All right, and have a good weekend. Survive, and we'll see you on Monday.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Take care. All right, let's see. Time to go back to Pocket. I mentioned to you that there was this Axios story about the January 6th pardon ease. We might as well put that on the record, and I'll try and use my break to find all the other stories I just referred to, but I hadn't put it about. The headline over at Axios is F-K, and you know what that means. It means F it, release them. F it, release them all. That's the quote. Why Trump embraced broad January 6th pardons. I'm not certain of the Is the Y actually in here? We'll find out. Mark Caputo thinks it's in there. President Trump's sweeping pardons for 1,500 January 6th criminals and defendants were a last-minute rip-off-the-bandage decision, or rip-the-bandage-off decision is what it says, to try to move past the issue quickly. I don't know if that's possible. White House advisors familiar with the Trump team's discussions tell this to Axios. Here's why it matters. Laws are stupid. Why it matters is law and order, but he doesn't care. Trump's move to go big on the pardons sheds light on his unpredictable decision-making process and shows his determination to fulfill a campaign promise to his MAGA base, regardless of the political fallout or possibly having released a guy who's going to assassinate him. Here's the thing. How it happened. 8 days before the inauguration, you may remember this, Vice President-to-be J.D. Vance, channeling what he believed to be Trump's thinking, if you think that was genuine, said on Fox News Sunday that January 6th convicts who assaulted police ought not to get clemency. If you committed violence that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. Then in some bullet points here, Trump vacillated. I can't believe it. I thought he was strong and resolute. But, of course, he listens to the last person who speaks to him. And people kept talking to him. Trump vacillated during an internal debate over targeted clemency versus a blanket decision, according to two insiders. But as Trump's team wrestled with the issue and planned a shock and awe batch of executive orders for day one, Trump just said, F it, release them all. An advisor familiar with the discussion said, then a catch up quick. I don't think I've seen that header. I don't read enough Axios to know. Trump's decision was a surprise to some Republicans in Congress who grimaced at the appearance of the new president condoning violence against police officers. On January 7th, 2021, the day after his supporters rioted at the Capitol to protest the 2020 election, and again, it was an insurrection, just say it, Trump decried those who defiled the building. But as his own legal problems mounted during his campaign, Trump came to embrace the cause of those charged in the riot. On the campaign trail, he began playing a version of the national anthem sung by jailed protesters, rioters, insurrectionists, who called themselves the J6 Prison Choir. Keep those names. After he was elected, Trump told Meet the Press on December 8th that he'd pardon January 6th convicts and defendants on day one. He did say that. I'm going to be acting very quickly. He didn't rule out clemency for those accused or convicted of attacking police, but said we're going to look at individual cases. As for between the lines, early in internal discussions, Vance actually had advocated for a blanket pardon, that son of a bitch. But the Yale-trained lawyer, son of a bitch, figured Trump wouldn't want to take the hit for releasing notorious convicts. The case-by-case review was onerous. Trump staffers wondered whom to pardon and who might slip through the cracks. So they said, work, F it. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. There's more in that Axios piece, but we left off basically with the realization in this piece that essentially the idea of doing a case-by-case review, because there's 1,500 cases, was onerous. In fact, too onerous for anyone around Donald Trump to want to do. It was going to take a long time and be hard work and be challenging. And so, let's not do it. And with Trump, you get okay, that's right. I also hate work. So let's just release everybody. And it's a simpler story if we just say, to hell with it, I don't really want the headline to be to hell with it, but I want the headline to be everyone was released because it was an absolute action. And only a very strong person and strong leader without tears rolling down his eyes would be able to do something like this. Of course, it's going to lead to problems, including, I think, his eventual death. But hey, who am I to say? But there we are. It was just too hard. Now there's more. Time was running out heading into Inauguration Day. Trump wanted to pardon as many people as possible and get it over with, so he landed on clemency for everyone. That's an irresponsible answer. And you're the president of the United States. You're supposed to be sort of in addition to taking care that the laws be faithfully executed, taking care that you don't do stupid stuff that ends up getting you or other people killed. But Trump doesn't care about it. They're not here to hurt me. Well, not yet. They're not here at all. But now they will be. And, well, I have the Secret Service protecting me. Yeah, you had them in Pennsylvania, too. And that didn't stop, and nothing stopped anybody. A guy climbed up on the roof and stayed there for an hour and then shot you. I don't know how much confidence I have. Multiply that by 1,500. Now, I'm certain that the vast majority of them, well, I'm not certain. But I would think it would be, let's say this, it would probably match conventional wisdom to say that the vast majority of them are like the ones who have gone on the record, and there are only a handful who have gone on the record. Thank you, President Trump. We love you, President Trump. I'll never forget this, President Trump. You understand us, President Trump. Nobody else does. All well and good. But, these are volatile people. These are guys who, this is not the same person, but who go to Comet Pizza in D.C. with an AR-15 and say, I need to see the basement to make sure there's not a child sex dungeon in it. And there wasn't. And anyway, that guy's dead. So he's off the table. That's one player off the table. But if I still have my doubts about it because it's really kind of weird because his ear's looking fantastic. But that's my best. That's my biggest item of praise. Yes, I want you to say something nice about President Trump. Your ear looks fantastic. It does. But whatever. We'll just assume the story is as told to us. The guy that shot you was, by all accounts, a Trump fan. We've heard really nothing, by the way, about that. Ordinarily, we hear obsessively about weirdo shooters. Maybe he didn't leave behind enough manifesto. I don't know, but I think so. But at any rate, like I said, it only takes one, and there's 1,500 to choose from, and only like a handful have gone on the record. There's, the outrage machine has provided us helpfully with the video of those people. I have no regrets, except shooting my eye out. He could have said he regretted that, Stuart Rhodes. But all the ones that'll make the rounds are the ones saying, no, it's great, thank you, we're freedom-loving patriots, we did nothing wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know that the brooding weirdos will make their way to anyone else's microphone, but it's going to take a little bit of time, right? Just like finding out after effing around. For them to get home, get settled, get themselves set up in front of their podcasting machine and make a TikTok or YouTube video about how they're angry at Trump or how they love Trump so much they just can't wait to be in heaven with him. Those are the ones you really got to worry about. Hey, you're not wrong that they're super fans, but you're foolish if you think that somebody dangerous enough to have been selected out of the crowd that was there on January 6th and prosecuted and put away is going to come out of prison more stable, right? And again, you just need to be unstable. You and I say, I don't understand. He's a Trump superfan. Why would he shoot Trump? And the answer is, he's a lunatic. He may or may not be a super fan of Trump. He may think this is a great thing for Trump. You won't understand it. And you don't have to. All you really need to know is that guy should be locked up somewhere. Unless, of course, you prefer that he be out and shoot Trump. But, I don't know how long it's going to take for that to happen or if it ever will or if any person like that exists. But it's a pretty good bet. And determined weirdos have historically, and I mean short-term history, have historically been able to get a shot off and hit Donald Trump in the head from a rooftop nearby. And Donald Trump loves nothing so much as a rally. And he won't stop rallying, and they won't stop being crazy. And God knows we won't at any point in the near future stop giving them guns. Remember, the QAnon shaman just the other day said, I can't wait to get my hands on some guns. Now that I've been pardoned and my criminal record is expunged, I can go and buy those things. Can't wait to exercise that right. That plus weird, plus Donald Trump being a public figure for whom you will become temporarily famous for shooting at, I will say this. We've done a good job not lionizing the shooter that hit him in the ear. I can't remember the guy's name at this point, and it was at some point, discussed as policy. Yeah, we shouldn't necessarily be naming the shooter because they're after the infamy of it all. And so they did a pretty good job suppressing the name of the guy who hit him in the ear. Not that we've forgotten that the incident happened, but we've kind of downplayed it. So maybe that's good. Maybe that's good shooter suppression. But, the guy, if anybody else shoots at him, they're probably going to become famous. And if you're dumb enough to think that's the kind of fame you want, well, I can't help formulate any policy that will prevent it from happening. You seem bound and determined to let it happen, and we'll just sit here and watch and hope that we're not in the background at any point. I mean, what can I tell you? Okay, so where were we? We were talking about the Trump team's view of the pardons and how it was that he broke through by saying, I'm tired of all of you people trying to figure out what we should do based on logic and understanding. F it, everybody out. In the Trump team's view, all the prosecutions are tainted. This advisor who spoke to Axios, familiar with the decisions, told Axios, and it's time to move on. Oh boy, right? We need to look forward, not backward. By the way, I was very interested and appreciative, in an ironic sense, in the comments from both James Comer and Speaker Johnson, who were willing to put themselves in front of a microphone and say, it's time to look forward, not backward, with respect to the pardons, with respect to investigating Trump. But it is also time for us to start investigations into the January 6th committee and the people who prosecuted Donald Trump. And we're going to be doing that. So looking forward, not backward, except if you made Trump angry, in which case it's all backward from here on in. So anyway, they said, all right, let's move on. Now, Vance, it says, was 100% on board, said one Trump insider, pointing to a Vance post on Twitter in which he noted that in 2021, quote, I donated to the J6 Political Prisoner Fund and got roasted for it during my Senate race. Yeah, well, you should. Trump advisors say they aren't particularly worried about the political fallout from the pardons decision, despite the bad poll numbers. Did you know that? They believe January 6th was essentially litigated in the election, that Trump won, and that other issues matter more to voters, like the price of eggs, I would guess, except you're effing that one up too. If you don't want to shoot Trump, you might consider throwing eggs at him and say they'll arrest you just the same. But I guess the penalty won't be as bad. The real problem is that the eggs cost more than the bullets. Anyway, the pardons episode provides a lesson for Vance and others in Trump's orbit. Categorical statements forecasting the mercurial president's actions are always a risk. It also happened to Vance during the campaign when he said Trump would veto a national abortion ban. The president didn't change his mind, this Trump advisor said. He made up his mind, and Vance got a little out over his skis on Fox. But it's no big deal, because nobody listens to Vance. The bottom line, I added that part, but the bottom line, never get ahead of the boss, a Trump transition source said, because you just never know. That's of some interest to me. Let's see. This is, if you keep scrolling, you get more coverage about the pardons. But I think that was the essential bit right there. All right, let's see what else I had in store for you. Speaking of all of these crazy things, let's see. Oh, you know what? I know this is a possible waste of time, but I'm tempted now to go back and finish the America 2.0 entry from Dave Troy about the network state. I know it must have left a lot of us in confusion because there's no decoding this stuff. But by the way, for the time we spent on it yesterday, reading and the day before, reading the that weirdos, and that's the right description for him, the weirdos Twitter rant about all I wanted to do was build a, I don't know what even to call it, a virtual society with portly merchants and muscular warriors, right? And it just got crazier from there as you read through more unhinged and unintelligible proclamations that are supposed to be vaguely, I guess, intellectual sounding because they use a bunch of big words, but they string them together in ways that don't make sense to anybody. But maybe it's just beyond me, man. I think that's sort of the dynamic they're going for. Those crazy lunatics, unhinged and unconnected to reality, are the ones that are supposedly nonviolent and have never been in prison. And imagine, I mean, really, throw together this kind of weirdo fantasy alongside violent offenders being sprung from prison without paying their debt to society and maybe holding Donald Trump responsible for keeping them there for too long and October surprising them in reverse, I guess you would say. Or maybe they love him more than ever, and it's that love that will do them all in. But, you know, I guess if you say, no, the people we're taking seriously, the oligarchs with billions of dollars, we want to implement their weird vision of the world, they're sane too, right? They're patriots, and these guys are sane, and you throw them together, and God only knows what's going to happen. Anyway, I think we left off yesterday. Let's see, we were reading about the connection of Balaji Srinivasan and Curtis Yarvin to all of this. And then the battle for San Francisco, right? Did we read this section here? I think so. We were in privatize everything everywhere. They're definitely into the privatization thing, the oligarchs figuring they can buy stuff. This is actually sort of not dissimilar, we'll say, from the Russian model of privatizing everything and making every sort of government function that they could available for private acquisition, so that the person who managed to cobble together the financing to buy the former Soviet Union's state aluminum smelting capacity. Like, I forget which one of the oligarchs is the guy who owns all that, and you know, then it pays you back in terms of keeping the profits. You become a billionaire 10 times over. This could happen here in the United States, and a lot easier too, because we're into private ownership here. Anyway, I think we read. Oh yes, right. We're going to have a demonstration of exactly what we mean by starting a quote unquote network school. Now, the idea that a school with 150 students is like, well, that's a model for building a complete an independent entire society full of portly merchants or whatever. No, it isn't. It's a school. You could now build a second school. That's scaling the idea. The idea that you can scale a school with a capacity for 150 students to connect and take classes in not a building, but in building their own intentional communities around network state concepts is, oh, you mean online schooling? Yeah. Wasn't it the case that didn't all the MAGA people end up saying, online schooling sucks, it's stupid, we got to get rid of it, we should kill all the school teachers and school board members who want to use it, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're making each other sick just by attending school. It doesn't work, but it does work if you do it for homeschooling and whatever, somehow, whatever. Basically, your idea of online schooling is terrible. Our idea of online schooling is great. And to take the matters just a little further, our idea of online schooling will somehow result in libertarian cities in the middle of the ocean full of portly merchants. Watch out. If there's too many of them, the island will sink. But okay. Somehow that's like a good idea. Anyway, this, again, is really nothing new. Certainly online schooling isn't. But libertarians doing an exit from society thing. Well, like John Galt, you mean that fiction book? But you're going to do it floating on the ocean just to make it more plausible. Okay, fine. And you were never in prison for being crazy. Imagine that. Well, anyway, libertarian exit and gold buggery is next, and I think we can actually get through the end of this article rather quickly. While it might be tempting to see the network state concept, back on that, as some newfangled idea that threatens to upend the global order, the fact is that this is a warmed over recapitulation of much older ideas with a tech veneer. right? Well, why can't we go back to feudal societies, but from an app? It's like Uber, but for season. Yeah, for those of you who remember the ancient property transfer ceremony from either from law school or history class, whatever. Anyway, right? It doesn't make any difference. I don't know. San Francisco is full of people like this. What do people need? Medical care. Ah, yes, everybody needs medical care. What if we made an app for medical care? Sure. Well, okay, WebMD, right? I can sell ads on it, but there's really only room for one. Anyway, the bulk of the talks presented at the network state events have been about co-living, meetups, and housing technologies, many of which are simply not new and were most recently explored as a part of the Web 2.0 wave in the late aughts. So, yeah, my app, yurt.com, has not made me famous, but somehow I am a millionaire anyway, even though nobody ever bought a yurt from me. Anyway, crypto-based governance models such as distributed autonomous organizations, DAOs, I don't know if we're ever going to have to become familiar with that. They aspire to a kind of country club democracy where anyone sufficiently in the know can opt in to be part of an experiment. These ideas cannot and do not meet the needs of actual democracy or the rule by the demos, people, that is, and tend more towards fascism and related fantasies of libertarian exit. And by the way, as I'm reading this, if you remember that Steve Bannon, originally, I don't know, he was originally a biodome guy. Is that right? Biosphere? What did they call those things? And if you can't really reconcile the fascist technocratic, whatever, I don't know, stage that we're in now with what looked like at one point the hippy-dippy biosphere thing. I guess there it is, right? Way back in the day, I'm into biosphere because I want to make a floating city in the middle of the ocean. Maybe. Perhaps the most telling talks at the 2023 Network State Conference were delivered by Kathleen Tyson and Peter, I don't know, what is his last name? St. Onge? Is that right? O-N-G-E? Both of whom offered messages of doom and gloom for the U.S. dollar and its future prospects. Tyson suggested that the world, quote, go back to gold as the basis of international monetary discipline. Famously easy to move to and store on floating islands. While St. Onge said that the current system is going to collapse and that a gold-backed BRICS currency, the alliance there, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, was genuinely superior to the dollar. And again, here the thing is to make the splashiest and most outrageous statement, and everyone will pay attention to you as the weirdo idiot. But then, among the weirdo idiot community, you're a golden god. Until, whatever, your island sinks. Next up, a war between worldviews, and we're having that now, allegedly, between Steve Bannon and others in the administration, Elon Musk most notably. But a war between worldviews, not about that war, it's about a different war. These ideas, the ones that they're talking about, we're going to go back to gold, we're going to have libertarian exit, are straight out of, I did not realize this, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a history book in their view, and more recently have been echoed in Project Russia. I'm not even familiar with that, but it'd be interesting if there was a link between a deliberate choice to name Trump's battle plans for the new administration, Project something, in this case 2025, Project Russia, though. What is that? I don't know. It's linked. You could read more about it. We'd probably be dismayed if we did, because the next stuff says, right, not only Protocols of the Elders of Zion, but Project Russia, and have all been echoed by people like Ron Paul, Elon Musk, and Steve Bannon. I guess we were on the right track after all. Readers familiar with my reporting, Dave Troy's reporting that is, on Project Russia will recall that it aims to, quote, split the world in two, and that the, quote, side that is right wins. That's some great political philosophy there. A main reason to oppose the network state concept isn't just because of its elitist roots. And remember, by the way, this is elitist roots that think that everybody else is the ones who are elitists. And impractical antisocial prescriptions, but rather because it advances an anti-democratic worldview that aids our adversaries. If we are dealing with an absolute Manichaean effort with a clear winner and clear loser, then the network state and historically all forms of libertarian exit are on the wrong side. Thiel, Musk, Vance, Srinivasan, and Ramaswamy have purchased outsized influence in the Trump 2.0 administration, and Ramaswamy just lost it. We would do well to keep sharp watch on network state and charter city ideas and give them no quarter. Let's make fringe ideas fringe again. In other words, they're extremely crazy people, and they are talking gibberish. It makes sense, I guess, among them. They get to know the code words and, wink at each other about them. But the idea of selling normies on this, let's all move to the middle of the ocean. I got my doubts about whether that's going to catch on. All right. Now, maybe a good glimpse into how that's going to work for normies is this other piece, which I had set aside alongside this thing. And I think this, too, again, was linked in the first America 2.0 article from Dave Troy that we were reading. The New York Post is probably a good barometer of this. The New York Post version, in their real estate section, for some reason, has this story from Mary Kay Jacob going back to May of 2021. Tech bros next move. Private cities without U.S. government control. I'd be curious to see whether this gets a glowing review or a skeptical, what is up with these nerds kind of review. Let's see what they got for us. After dominating Silicon Valley in the past 2 decades, techies are now spreading into other regions such as Austin and North Carolina. But that's not the middle of the ocean. Oh, by the way, quite apart from the floating city concept, the idea of putting all the tech bros in the middle of the ocean is not a bad one. I mean, I know their version of it, it's just a matter of elevation is where we differ, right? They want it to be at sea level. I was thinking a couple thousand feet below. Now, if they want to try to make a submersible that goes all the way down there and withstands the pressure, and they want to build it at home, that's fine as a gamble. Historically, that one has come out well for us also. I was just thinking, like, next to Osama bin Laden. But, ocean is ocean, as far as I'm concerned. Who cares? A couple thousand feet, one way or the other, no big deal. After dominating Silicon Valley, they're now branching out into Austin and North Carolina, both on land, by the way. But merely setting up shop in a new hotspot isn't enough isn't enough for one group of techies now formulating a plan to build their very own dream city away from the U.S. entirely and governed by themselves. 25-year-olds Dryden Brown of New York University, no Eastern elitist there, and Charlie Callanan of Boston College, another one, co-founded Blue Book Cities in 2019. Now, pausing here to say, we heard that name, Dryden Brown. I don't know if I forget whether we noted Charlie Callanan in the previous articles. Dryden Brown was the standout in all of this. But back in 2021, we're into Blue Book Cities. We did that in 2019, and it's garbage and on the ash heap. And I know they're just recycling the same idea over and over again and renaming it something else. But this just sort of illustrates the point that in 2021, they were famous-ish enough to get into the New York Post with Blue Book Cities. Now it's, now it'll be a network city. Yeah. And we're going to put it in Greenland instead of Blue Book City, whatever that's supposed to mean, in the middle of the ocean. They're just changing the locale, changing the names, rebranding. And I don't know. I've always had a real distaste, let's say, for these people who are like, they can't fail out, right? They just, I put a new cover on my quote unquote business plan, and I'm just moving from cocktail party to cocktail party, somehow stringing together enough venture capital funding to keep, smoking cigars and buying Ducatis when do we see people collapse the way the free market says they ought to? I don't know. Anyway, Blue Book Cities was the hot thing there. I don't know what it links to, but anyway, they describe themselves as full stack city builders because tech bro, full stack, which partners with communities to develop beautiful, energetic, resident-owned cities, the website states. They haven't moved to the middle of the ocean with this one yet. So far, their community remains online, in the cloud. Right? I mean, I guess this was from the era where you could explain anything like, well, I don't understand. If you're building cities, where's your effing city? In the cloud, man. And at the time, people were like, oh, yeah, in the cloud. I don't know exactly what that means. I just know it's confusing and beyond me. And stuff that's in the cloud is somehow making these guys billionaires. So it must be real because they can't be billionaires if it's not real, right? Now we know better. It's in the cloud, man. Cloud City. I saw that in Star Wars. It's in the cloud. Sure. But they expect to enlist around 2,000 willing participants, I guess, to go to clouds. Hi, everybody. It's me, David. Let's change things up from the old fundraising pitch for just a minute and talk instead about how you can be a part of our show. If you've got a smartphone or any other electronic recording device, why not sit down and record a segment for us? Read us an important article and give us your take. Read one of your own original essays, or even just give us your commentary on something you'd like to share that's important to you. Then send the file to me at kagrox@gmail.com, and I'll try and work it into the show. Short segments, a few minutes in length, are easiest to fit in. And of course, I can't always guarantee that I'll be able to play everything, but if you've ever shouted at your radio or TV about something you wish was being covered, here's your chance to change that. Make the show your own. Send your submissions to me at kagrox@gmail.com. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Roots Radio. We continue with what? Oh, yes, right. The New York Post view of these tech weirdos. I think it gives you a pretty good indication. I don't know. It's hard to tell whether he's or she, whether the author here is, open to this or just mocking them. I don't know. But I'm mocking them. It seems pretty stupid. And again, also pretty frustrating. Like, I don't understand how when you're 25, you can just fail over and over and over with your stupid grand vision and then just keep getting people to give you money for it. But I mean, I guess that's why people buy into this whole idea, and in some part why they buy into Trump too, right? They can just see him. I don't know what it is, but he's got a superpower. He just walks around and accumulates money, even though none of it makes any sense. And I guess for a lot of people who, maybe started off with nothing, but most of whom probably started off with a pretty comfortable, well-to-do background, and parents who would support them in doing this, are able to just float from VC cocktail party to VC cocktail party and just come away with money. Like, at what point do they say, you can't do this, you're not good at it, we've sunk too much money into you? But I guess if you're minting a new billionaire every day, you just go to that billionaire, the new one. Where were we? Yes, right. So far, their community remains online. This is the Blue Book Cities idea. In the cloud. But they expect somehow to enlist around 2,000 willing participants, about the size of a small college town, they note parenthetically, to pack up and move to their yet-to-be-built city. No word yet on where the concept will touch down, but the two hope to land somewhere in the Mediterranean, which, I don't know what it takes to live this lifestyle. I imagine it would be very stressful, and I wouldn't want to do it, but just to keep hustling and but to be living like a billionaire the whole time, apparently, somehow. But why do it why do it in the Mediterranean? But can I do this? Because I have an idea. Like, if I can create a city anywhere, I don't know what they think is special about the Mediterranean. I guess maybe land for sale, like islands that you think you can acquire somehow from somebody. Maybe yes, maybe no. Or build one. I don't know. But, like, if I could do this, if I could find a way to make a living at it, I guess I would say I want to build one of these cities. I want to recruit 2,000 willing participants as a starter. And eventually, of course, the idea would be to recruit many, many more. But I want to put it in Wyoming, I want to put one in Wyoming and one in North Dakota and one in Idaho and one in Montana and maybe one in South Dakota as well. And just say, I'd like to move eventually 50,000 committed blue voters to these states and try and change the political complexion of the whole state. I think, we've talked about this before, right? If you could move 50,000 people to one of these towns in each of these places, in some cases it would be enough. But if you could get more, if you transplanted them from California, right? That's all of them from California. California's got a surplus of blue voters, and it would remain a solidly blue state, even if if we took 5 million of those people and split them up 1 million in each of these 5 states, right? That's 10 Senate seats up for grabs. There's just no people in those states. There's very few people. It would take not very many to completely change the complexion of the voting populace in those states and make them locks as blue seats in the Senate. If that was your intention, if you could really pull it off, you could do that. And we've heard other versions of the same sort of plan with a more practical bent to them, like the idea of connecting Cheyenne, Wyoming to Denver, Colorado with a high-speed train route that could make Cheyenne a commuter community, a bedroom community to Denver. If you can't move the jobs to Cheyenne, you can move the workers there and have them do the jobs in the Denver, Fort Collins corridor instead, but live and vote in Wyoming. It could happen. I don't know whether it could happen or not, but if this can happen to the extent that billionaires will just keep giving this guy money and he just keeps walking around saying, I'm taking over America plus Greenland, and people buy into it, like, why can't I do it? And the answer is, I don't have the energy to pretend stupid things day in and day out. I can talk about their stupid things, but only for 2 hours. Anyway, so there we are. They want to land. They hope to land somewhere in the Mediterranean. How they doing on that? Not at all. No progress whatsoever. And this is from 2021. They've been at this since 2019. It's time to brand it a failure and tell them to F off. But no. Currently, Brown and Callanan, not Callahan, currently meaning 2021, are looking to partner with a country in the region. Now, this is a great plan, by the way. A country in the region who wants to attract a slice of Silicon Valley and is, quote, down to forge a partnership with them, quote. Brown told YouTuber Justin Murphy in an interview. Who's Justin Murphy? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But once again, somebody who's making more money than he should be making and that we're making by interviewing people who say, I want to found my own country. Yeah, what's your plan to do that? I'm going to partner with somebody who's already got a country and ask them if they'll slice a piece off and give it to us. Get out of my studio. Really. Why do you entertain this? That's what I need to do. I'm going to start a YouTube streaming podcast interview show. Maybe that's our problem. We don't make enough money because we don't do enough interviews. My show will be, I'm going to invite idiots on for interviews and I'm going to throw them off. And it's just, can I find a more creative and funny way to throw them off the air? And we'll start a countdown clock. Who gets thrown off the air fastest? I bet that would work. Oh, well. Okay, so back to his stupid plan. Well, we're looking for someone who's down to forge a partnership. That, you know what, by the way, is really great? Get the leader of a country, meet them and go, hey, yo, are you down to form a partnership with me? No. Did you escape from the daycare center? Or go back home. What is up with this kid? Here's more plan. Whereby they contribute land. Whereby. That, I guess, if you continue on from the previous statement, we're looking for somebody who's down to forge a partnership with us whereby they contribute land, perhaps for equity in the project. Why would anybody pay you? Why would anybody give you money? Why would anybody give you land? in exchange for equity in the project. That's what works in Silicon Valley. That's what gets you the millions of dollars. Okay. And the terms will obviously be negotiated, Brown explained. We are not trying to be a total sovereign nation or something like that. We want to partner with the government and build something really cool that works with us and works for them and is mutually beneficial. He said, and that probably sounded a lot more reasonable than starting your own country. I grant you that. But essentially, the word is out. Nobody wants it. Well, in that case, we'll start our own country. Well, that's also probably not working. Well, we might conquer Greenland and we don't know what to do with it. And I gave $1 million to the guy who wants to grab Greenland. Maybe he'll let me do it. Now you might be onto something. That could happen. Because you're talking about working with the guy who may be stupid enough to have released his own assassin from jail. He'll certainly, it's a step backwards from that level of dumb to say, well, now I have a whole mess of territory I don't know what to do with and I never knew what to do with. You think you have something? You go do it. Fine. I can't be bothered. I can't even be bothered to figure out who I'm releasing from prison. Okay. Well, let's see. Oh, there was a bit more from that quote, right? We're looking for somebody to build something really cool that works for us and works for them and is mutually beneficial, he said, adding that they want a government that will stop blocking people with dumb regulations. Well, blocking people with dumb regulations is what governments kind of do. I know I'm sure they don't go out of their way to say, let's come up with something dumb, but they're being extractive or controlling because that's what governments are all about. That's what they're supposed to do, and try and capture some of the benefits for their society. And you don't want them to do that. Well, I don't know if you're going to get that partner, and you haven't. So that's why you're trying to go without one. With the backing of angel investor Peter Thiel, who is an idiot, so they got a good mark there, who has already invested nearly $9 million in Pronomus Capital. I think they might mean billion. Like, that's not really much of a capital, a VC company with $9 million. A venture capital group, whatever, they didn't say what, that focuses solely on startups like Blue Book Cities. Oh, wow, I can't believe it. A venture capital place that focuses only on startups? That is something. What a great idea. That guy is a forward thinker. Well, maybe he just means startups that are idiotic, like Blue Book Cities. What happened to that name? The company is expected to soon morph the online community into a private city reality. Well, that was 2021. They'd been working on it for 2 years at that point. 2 years have passed since then, more, in fact, and they got nothing. Anyway, membership is even more limited than the already cost-prohibitive Silicon Valley real estate scene. Praxis applicants, that is the first mention of Praxis in here. And I don't know, again, whether he means the company or that eventually came to be or something else. Praxis applicants are carefully vetted with a written application and numerous phone calls with current members. New members are rare because membership is sacred. The application states, I don't even know what they're talking about here. Their move follows the crippling pandemic, perhaps you remember that happening, racial tensions, and a controversial election, all of which has mounted talk of secession in what was once the tech capital of the world. Really, secession of Silicon Valley, huh? The Silicon Valley techies are looking to take matters into their own hands by exploring ways to build an apolitical private city run by private residents without U.S. government control. But they want it to be in the same place and have DoorDash and burrito taxis. Can we just declare ourselves independent here? No, you usually get crushed in a civil war. All right, what about in the middle of the ocean? What about if we buy a Mediterranean island? What if we buy land in another country that's down to do it? What if we float in space? Like, what if you realize that all of these options are closed to you and the only real option here is to learn to live in society? I mean, by the way, why are you so cranky? You go to parties all the time and people hand you money, and all you have to do is rename your stupid prospectus every couple of years. Why is this so hard for you? Why do you need to secede from that? I mean, I'd say you're doing pretty good. You're a scam artist, but you're doing fine. Stay here. Why does this have to happen in the middle of the ocean or on Mars? When COVID happened, the labor market migrated to the cloud. They stayed where they were. They did their work through the cloud. Now you can move sort of wherever you want and your job will follow if you are a knowledge worker in many cases, Brown told Murphy via a video conference. See, it works. And I think this is going to create a shift in urban dynamics that's greater than we have seen in 300 years, where people are no longer moving into cities for the labor market. Maybe, but that does sound also reminiscent of, we're going to have to replan cities all around the world thanks to the Segway. Well, that didn't really catch on either. Brown and Callanan are currently building their online community via Praxis, there we are, a social media platform for those interested in possibly joining Blue Book cities. I guess they just chucked that name entirely. That is, or changed it to network cities. That is, if they meet their exclusive criteria. Isn't that something like a 25-year-old is? By the way, I wonder what their criteria is. This guy is super rich and this chick is super hot. Let's let them into our club. I mean, private city. We need them for money and breeding. Ew, gross. Anyway, so where were we? All right, they're building their online community via Praxis. Now we understand that to mean, at least in 2021, a social media platform for those interested in possibly joining these stupid cities if they get selected, and where they can communicate directly amongst each other. Okay, no one's editing this. Amongst each other. Wow. The website describes Praxis as a, quote, society of pioneers, please, racing to settle the first resident-owned affinity city, developed by Blue Book cities on the Mediterranean. Affinity city. So, by the way, an affinity city is just, I guess, a larger concept of the affinity living groups or dorm groups that they have on the campuses which are too woke, right? Etc., where, you know, a clean living or straight edge floor and a Dungeons and Dragons floor too, and you can't mix the two of them because you end up with nuts like this. You get the idea. This is just something they stole from elsewhere, which, you know, that's the American dream, so I can't fault them for that. We all do this. But there you are. You're going to settle the first affinity city owned by Blue Book cities on the Mediterranean. No. Explaining how the global reach of the internet helps build a community of new cities organized around shared values and glorious visions for the future. How does the internet do that? The answer is this. How many people in Silicon Valley can you gather who are interested in living in giving credence to a fantasy of portly merchants living in the middle of the ocean in a city that you built from scratch? Silicon Valley, large place, lots of people, lots of dumb people, lots of weird people, lots of people who consider themselves visionaries but are actually what we would call weirdos and dummies in the old days, before it was against political correctness to do that. But, you know, there's lots of people there. So 200 maybe, you know, who are literally going to commit to something like this, who would pay a fee, because that's what you're interested in, making money, who would pay a fee to do something dumb like make me a member of a Facebook page, essentially a glorified Facebook page full of people who wish they lived with portly merchants in the middle of the clouds. Okay, but 200 isn't enough. We need at least 2,000. You're going to need much more than that, but let's say 2,000 is the number we're shooting for. How many are there in, I don't know, Austin, Texas, where people are weird on purpose? We got another 50 from there. I don't know. New Orleans, 20. New York City. But yeah, we're looking for weirdos. I got another 200 out of them. We're still far from 2,000. What if we just did this on Facebook so that people from anywhere could join? Then we could get to 2,000. But the problem is, how do we get all those people who are all over the world to decide, F where I'm living now, let's roll the dice and pioneer across the world? You know how hard it is to be a pioneer? How many, you put together 2,000 people to migrate from the East Coast to Oregon via the Oregon Trail. How many of them make it there? How many of them survive? Pioneering is tough, and if you F it up, you die. Are burrito taxi people really going to do this? The answer is no, but can you get 2,000 of them together on a glorified Facebook page? Sure, absolutely, 100%, no doubt about that. Can you explain to me why that should bring $1 billion into your pocket? No, I can't, except if you're going to have to follow me for this one. What if a billionaire wackadoodle vampire existed? Could we get that guy to give us $1 billion? Apparently the answer is yes. I don't know why, but here I can just point to history. So there you go. One way to join the Praxis community is through the digital distribution platform Discord, which is designed specifically to create a community among people with shared ideas and thoughts. Sure, that's also called a blog. I know Discord is different from that. But, I mean, we've done this before. Wow, you're going to use the internet to create a virtual community among people with shared ideas and thoughts. How would you like $1 billion for that? I don't know how you get to that stage. Well, how are you going to build your city? Through Praxis. What's Praxis? It's a social media platform. Okay, how are you going to get people to use Praxis as their preferred social media form? Through Discord. What's Discord? Discord is a digital distribution platform. I'm not certain I get it. But what if you spoke to a billionaire vampire weirdo who used Discord? Then he would say, oh, I know Discord. Yeah. Everybody's on Discord. So you're going to use Discord to bring them to Praxis, to bring them to an affinity city. And the city is where? Don't know yet. I'm hanging on to my $1 billion, I guess. And that's really the difference between, by the way, Republican and Democratic billionaire donors. Like, that's interesting. The Democratic billionaire donors are like, I don't know, your idea, and we keep criticizing them as being unrealistically tight-fisted with their money. Well, I'll give you $100. Will you organize an online community to, raise awareness of the ability of a simple majority in the Senate to change filibuster rules, for instance? I'll tell you what, I'll send you a quarter. 25 cents a month. Would you do it for that? No. Granted, it was more than that. But on the Republican side, you want to build a city in the cloud? All right, here's $1 billion. I can't explain it. It's, I think, bad investment. And the Democratic donors are kind of right to be careful and to want a serious prospectus on a serious subject from you. But in the meantime, this is happening, and it's making it all over the newspapers. There's no newspaper reporting about budding Democratic community building happening because everybody's too cautious for it. So I can't fault them for this, except I will make it my business to fault them. So anyway, it's enjoyable to do so. We want young and ambitious people who want to go out in the frontier and build the future. I do. And I mean, I don't know, maybe I do have a prospectus. I want to move. I want to create cities out of thin air, maybe, or at least housing and jobs out of thin air in 5 Mountain West states and see if I can take over their Senate seats. That's a good plan. I mean, it's better than saying I want to build a new society from the ground up, right? Anyway, but the plan isn't without its catches, the New York Post helpfully tells us. If San Francisco gets radically better, or New York, and none of these people no longer want to leave, Brown mused, I think that is fairly unlikely. But who knows? That he thinks is fairly unlikely. So there could be a demand problem. That's called nobody wants to do it, right? Oh, I think it's pretty unlikely. What, the floating city? No, that New York City or San Francisco improves enough such that people say, the burrito taxi and the 5-level indoor golf driving range is pretty good. And I know stuff sucks and I'm a libertarian, but I think I'll just stay rather than risk death on the ocean or in space or whatever. Yeah, I think they probably, but that you think is less likely? Who knows? He says, it could be a demand problem. How about your idea is effing full of crap problem? That's a demand problem. He also cited finance sourcing as a potential issue, but not for him because a vampire gave him money, describing how it would take at least $500 million for phase one of building a city to come into fruition. And mind you, phase one is making a glorified Facebook page and gathering people from around the world via Discord to say, I'd be totally into a floating city. That's phase one. $500 million to him. You're joining a startup city and you're owning equity in the startup city by living there, except you don't live there. Brown concluded, we intend for it to go to the moon, but we will see. And I don't know whether he means literally actually go to the moon or not. I'm not sure. Maybe he just means like we're going to be so popular, we're going to go to the moon with this thing. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. But in the meantime, pay me membership fees so I can keep that money. And you'll own equity. I know, but what are you going to do when the people want to, or say, I'm not earning any money on this investment I made? I don't know. You're not earning anything in your meme coin either, but you did that. I'm just selling you the meme coin thing is instead it's a token that entitles you to residency in our city once it's built. Sure. Why not? I mean, people are buying tickets on space flights that don't exist yet. They'll absolutely do this. You're joining a startup city. All right. The Post has reached out to Brown and Callanan for comment, but they aren't the only ones trying to do this. In February, Japan's Toyota company, now they're a successful business venture, they launched their idea of a new city titled Woven City, which I guess was stolen and developed further into Network City. Saudi Arabia also gained its own footing in futuristic cities with the company Neom, N-E-O-M, which they began developing in 2017. And that was mentioned in one of the previous articles, I think, that we read. And we didn't know what it was. And I guess now we do. But here again, Saudi Arabia, different dynamic. For a Saudi Arabian prince to convince the sovereign wealth fund that he runs that they should invest in his idea is a thing you can do. You got people in the UAE building gigantic palm tree shaped islands. They do that sort of thing. But because it's not difficult to convince yourself to fund yourself, that's easy. What I just don't understand is how anybody can go up to a billionaire. By the way, for all the billionaires, well, these people are very smart. Otherwise, they wouldn't have $1 billion. We need to listen to them. They're business geniuses. This is a whole pitch for Elon Musk, right? The reason he's into everything. Or Vivek Ramaswamy. Why can he run for president? Why could he be temporarily involved in Doge? Because he's a billionaire, and they can only be a billionaire if you're smart. If it wasn't the case, then why is it that a dummy like me isn't a billionaire? And no one really knows the answer to that. Anyway, but just for testing their smarts, would you give $1 billion to somebody to build a city based on a Discord chat? No, I would not. My kids are on Discord all the time. They haven't been given $1 billion yet. And if I asked my kids, hey, how many of your Discord buddies would sign up by giving money for a token that entitles them to live on a floating city in space or in the ocean or not floating? It's just built from the ground up. Would they go there? No, they wouldn't go there. Yeah, I know. Neither would I. But the smart guy gave $1 billion to that, which I guess if you have 100 billion, would I give $1 billion on the off chance that if that guy produces that thing, I can move there and live tax free forever and people will think I'm a god? Yes. All right. Well, in that case, I would invest in it. All right. Well, there you go. So the New York Post, I'm not certain whether they take a more skeptical view of this thing or not, but it was fun and I don't know, worth doing. And I think now we've finally exhausted the topic. So that's good news for the rest of you who are getting bored. There's lots to get to on Friday. We have that opportunity and we can delve into the or I can at least tease for you. Scott sent me something when we were talking about pistachio nuts, about, I guess, the The snack colored by history and hostages. I guess pistachio nuts, Iranian in their origin. I guess their very first origin. Then spreading, I think, throughout much of the Middle East, but introducing them into American culture had some twists and turns, and maybe that has something to do with learning about the history of the decision to dye them red and then the decision to stop dyeing them red. I haven't been able to read through it. It's a lengthy article, but it might be in a fine Friday piece. Lots of other things to catch up on as well. But yeah, I just couldn't let go of the idea that there's this cadre of people who should be shunned at every turn, but who instead claim, anyway, to have tremendous influence in the incoming administration because they're going to use Discord chats, which is what people use to coordinate their activities in playing online video games, essentially. But we're going to turn that into real cities that don't exist right now, but totally can, because you can just ship whatever you need via Amazon, and DoorDash will bring us the food, and we're just going to sit there and think libertarian thoughts in our luxury townhomes, which are totally built by, I don't know what, outer space aliens, I guess. No, we're going to 3D print the whole thing, you see. And we're all going to carry guns, and we're going to import hot chicks that are stolen by Andrew Tate and shipped to us here in the Americas because it's legal now. Just ask Trump. I don't know. We're going to have some problems in this country, and we're here to tell you about it on our way there. Justice Putnam is ready to do the same as he follows with the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy on netrootsradio.com.
You have been listening to Kagro in the Morning with David Waldman.
Hey, by the way, about that wide open pardoning system, guess what? You can be guilty of using and spreading child pornography, and Trump will still pardon you for January 6th. Isn't that great? So, just keeping predators off the street and keeping our children safe, that's all we want in targeting somebody else, trans communities, drag queens, what have you. Oh, well, see you later.